Welcome to the Dreamboat. Remember, you can join the DRI for just £30 a year. You get access to more content, including videos and discounts for our events. It's a great way of finding out more about our work, joining our dream community, and supporting this podcast. Details in the show notes and at driccpe.org.uk/membership. Welcome to the Dreamboat podcast, a place where we talk about everything dreamy, all you wanted to know about dreams and where you might find some answers. My name is Dave Billington, and I'm a psychotherapist, and I'm also director of the Dream Research Institute. And I'm joined by fellow psychotherapist Laura Payne.
Hello, I'm Laura Payne, and I'm also part of the Dream Research Institute. And we're called the Dreamboat because we are recording our podcast overlooking the beautiful canal barges here at Little Venice in London.
We'll be looking at dreams, talking to guest experts, and answering your questions.
Now, let's get on with the episode.
You will have heard us talking about the IASD, which is the International Association for the Study of Dreams, an organization that the DRI is associated with, and an organization that puts on an annual conference that we've all been to, and is a place where all the dreamers get together.
And we try and stay awake.
And we try and stay awake and also have wonderful dreams.
Exactly. It's a great place, isn't it, for sharing dreams? I love it. You get some of your best dreams around conference time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a zinger this year, which maybe I'll talk about on the pod at some point, but it was a really good one. So for this episode, we thought that we would talk about just some impressions of the conference. And Laura and I are joined by Maria Nasdravan, who was at the conference with us. And she is also joining the DRI to take charge of our public outreach for us. So we're very excited to have her. And Maria, welcome on to the Dreamboat podcast.
I'm so excited to join you. This is a treat.
Oh, Maria, it's lovely having you on board. And it was great fun seeing you at the conference as well. It's always nice to see familiar faces when there are hundreds, if not 1,000 people who you don't know, you know of. But I think that's always the fun thing for any conference, whatever subject matter it's about. You get to see people in your profession or areas of interest that you've heard of or you've seen, and you can make contact. So yeah, it was fun having you on board at the conference as well, Maria. I think today we were just going to have a chat about some of the trends and things that we're noticing in dreams, because obviously a conference becomes a bit of a melting pot of what's happening out in the wider world. Yeah. And there were some interesting trends, weren't there, Dave?
Absolutely. And just to say as well, I always refer to the IASD annual conference as Dreamapalooza, because it's all of these different elements that come together. You have art, which is displayed around the conference center, and there's an art competition that goes on. There's lots of workshops on making art from your dreams. There's a very strong research element, psychological research, neuroscience, things coming out of sleep labs. So that they kind of, hard science research. There's esoteric elements. There's spiritual views on dreams. There's everything from the deeply personal to the scientific and broadly collective. So it brings all those themes together and all those people together. And it's really exciting to just be able to have chats with people from other areas of dream work. For us, it's about psychotherapy, but for people who aren't clinical at all, they're working with dreams in labs, and they're just looking at data. And then there's also people who are shamans who are there. It's every different kind of person.
Yeah, it's a great melting pot.
Yeah.
Why don't we just kick off with our own session first of all? Well, the Dreamboat had its own session actually at the conference, and we picked up on our favourite topic, which is "I Dream, Therefore I Am." As you know, it's part of our running series. And again, what does AI and dreams tell us about consciousness? Was the title of the workshop, with "I Dream, Therefore I Am" as a sort of subtitle, looking at the whole notion of dreaming as a form of human consciousness. And there were other workshops going on. But on the workshop, Dave and I both hosted it. We had some previous guests on board the workshop. So we had Kelly Bukele, we had Deirdre Barrett, who was on the podcast session, who is also the president of the IASD. And we had Nigel Hamilton, who represents almost like the sort of spiritual end of the dreaming world, who was also, Nigel Hamilton is part of the DRI. And then we had Sheldon Juncker, who is part of a dream analysis AI tool. And we were joined by
Victoria Philibert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about Victoria, Dave.
Victoria Philibert has an MA in philosophy and works in medical technological ethics, but she's been advising on developing these AI dream interpretation apps as well, and looking at, in my way of saying it, sort of how the suppressions and repressions of the people who have made AIs get built into those same algorithms. But it was a really dynamic panel, well attended, which I was really happy about. We didn't set out to solve all the problems of consciousness, but we certainly highlighted some of the main issues, I think. From my perspective, speaking for myself, it was really enjoyable just to be sort of next to and part of that conversation. There were lots of great questions from the audience and challenging questions, I think. Maria, you were sitting in the audience for that. Did you have any impressions of how it was received?
You know, that particular panel was a highlight for me. It was really entertaining, and I admired how playful the conversation was, that even though my perception was that not everyone agreed on the function of dreaming or how dreaming and AI can work together, but everyone managed to hold their own view and offer so many different perspectives. And I think as an audience member, for me, it was really entertaining. It sparked a lot of thoughts about consciousness and AI. I loved the question of what would AI dream about if AI could dream. And I think it was Sheldon who said, well, AI would probably dream about its own servers and its cables and things like that. And I thought that was excellent.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I love it. I also liked his final payoff line when people get a bit confused about AI in the whole HAL taking over the universe sort of approach out of 2001 Space Odyssey, HAL, when he said, and in the end, who pays the electricity bill? And I thought that was such a great line. Oh, yes, humans currently pay the electricity bill. And it was a humorous sort of bit of closure, I thought.
Yeah, I'd refer you to The Matrix to see how that might work out in the end.
Exactly. But currently, yeah, I was left thinking, for now.
But yeah, it went well, and it was just really an honor to be able to present that and have that conversation as part of IASD. And my impression is that the subject of what is consciousness, what do dreams tell us about consciousness, what are the different ways of looking at it, that was a real theme coming out from even the opening keynote, which was Dr. Peña Guzman talking about non-human dreaming, which was about animals. And lovely presentation, really kind of looking at, how can we understand what animals are dreaming, first of all, if they're dreaming, and then what they're dreaming. But at the end, in response to a question, there was something I wrote down I just wanted to share, which was somebody actually asked about sort of the Philip K. Dick question and androids dreaming of electric sheep, and what about AI consciousness if it's non-human dreaming as well? And he said I'm biocentric, and I think that there's something special about animals. Don't confuse intelligence with experience. And I put animals on the experience continuum. So he really took a strong position on that. And I would love to talk to him about it some more.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. What did you make of that, Maria?
That's really interesting, because sitting in that conference, I think I was someone who asked a challenging question around, well, we are very human-centric in our exploration of AI and dreams. And I think at this point, AI is not developed enough. It's intelligent. It might not have an experience, but that doesn't mean you won't get there. And when you talk about AI and consciousness, a lot of people, in my opinion, get defensive about whether AI could attain that kind of consciousness. And I think it's okay to we all want to center humanity, but what if it isn't all about humanity? And what if AI could at some point meet us, not just in intelligence, or actually probably overpass us in intelligence, but meet us at an experience level?
Yeah. I think my other takeaway from hearing people, talk about AI and consciousness, and it's clearly a growth area, as we saw at the conference. I don't remember it being so present at other conferences. And I found that there is this sort of collapse, if you're not careful, in language, which is where a lot of the confusion comes along. And I thought, in the end, you have to define intelligence and you have to define consciousness. Are they the same thing? And I think that's going to be the bit where the conversation has to head for it to become more meaningful, rather than, as you quite rightly say, Maria, it all collapsing down into a point of fear for a lot of people. It becomes defensive in some way.
I think that was something that Peña Guzman was referring to as well. He said, my phone it's more intelligent than me. It can remember more than I can. It can calculate things much better than I could ever hope to.
It can get you home.
Yeah, exactly. God knows I can't do that myself anymore. But is it having an experience? And I hope it's not, because it's in my pocket most of the time.
Oh, dear. Yeah, it's a great subject, and long may it roll. And we're obviously going to carry on here, because it's got, everybody's got, particularly in the dream world and outside of the dream world, the world of neuroscience has got some really interesting ideas on it all, which are worth exploring.
Yeah.
Maria, anything else catch your mind? What about, I know you and I attended some similar workshops. I saw you now and again.
Well, I was very intrigued by the tarot workshops, because I love tarot, and I have used it with dream work in trying to amplify the themes in the dreams. But I loved one of the workshops that I think both attended, where they were talking about incubating dreams on the major arcana and going on a whole journey through the 22 cards and seeing what comes out. And I thought that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and the woman who was part of that dream group over the year, who did the whole session just on the Fool, the very first card of the pack, how it appears in dreams, how it's appeared in, I suppose, archetypal dreams, as Jungians would say, not just dreams, but as an archetypal image throughout so many different cultures around the world. I thought it was really interesting. I also came away thinking, a nice workshop for the DRI perhaps to consider. What did you like about it in particular, Maria?
Well, I always like it when I hear about ideas I didn't think about, and I think it's brilliant. I would love to do it for myself, but it's even on the Fool, because for me, the Fool is the whole major arcana. It's the Fool's journey throughout all the archetypes and maturing and meeting the world and attaining enlightenment, maybe. So I love the exploration and of how that can stimulate dreams and incubate and bring out parts of us that maybe we wouldn't necessarily access so easily without actually engaging at such a deep level.
Yeah, I agree. For those of you listening, so basically this dream group took the whole tarot card pack, the major arcana deck, which is 21 cards, or is it 22? I can't remember, 22 cards, including the Fool. And they literally spent a month on each card, or a couple of weeks on each card. And so they looked at the card, they researched the next stage of the journey, as Maria said, and then they put the card under their pillow and slept on it every night to then watch what imagery then came up, not just for themselves, but then the collective imagery within the group, which for Jungians is, arguably one could say a wet dream, but it was absolutely fascinating, wasn't it, Maria? The type of imagery that kept recurring within the group.
And how personal it was for everyone there. I think one of the participants shared that for them it was a lot about the shadow, even though they went through multiple cards. That was the theme that emerged, and I think there were specific characters that kept reappearing, and they got to work with those characters, whereas for others maybe it was something else. But indeed, they went on a journey as a group, and that's really special, I think.
Yeah. You've been in dream groups, Maria, so you know how important that aspect of working in a dream group actually is. It's once the imagery and some of the material starts becoming very collective, which was interesting. You reminded me of did you do the Oracle dream card group?
No.
That was also really interesting. So basically you took a dream card from the night before and you went on a shamanic exercise in that you drew a key aspect of the dream, a key image of the dream, and you made it into an oracle card. I'm wondering whether I've got my one here. I was, in fact, quite funnily showing it to people who were around last night because I found it quite interesting. So
can I just ask, sorry, for people like me, what is an oracle card?
Exactly. I was just about to explain. I was trying to look for the card to find it, but sorry, I can't find it. Apologies. I can describe it though. And an oracle card is something a bit like tarot cards, but you work with them on a more shamanic basis. So they're a card that has an image that's very personal to you, and you then work with them. So when the card comes up, so this card of mine has a sheep on it. In fact, it was a lamb. And so the card came up. And so I had a whole deck of those cards with all my own images. Each of them has a message for me. So that's the oracle aspect of it all. And in this workshop, what they did was they asked you to work with somebody, unearth a key image, and then you drew the image on the card and you gave the card a name as well. What was interesting, there were 4 of us in the group. I didn't know any of them. None of us knew each other. And all 4 of us came from all around the world. And within the 4 of us in the group, we then went into pairs. But all 4 of us had a connection, both that was quite clear in our dream, and also quite clear, even though we chose who we were going to work with, there was a connection between us. And I've often noticed this. If you bother to work it out, that sort of however many degrees of separation. In this case, it wasn't a question of degrees of separation. What is the commonality that has almost like fate brought us together? And it became very apparent in the drawings that we did very privately on the oracle card. There were some really interesting themes.
That gave me goosebumps hearing that. And it taps into that principle of synchronicity, I think. When you start to work with tarot or oracle cards, you are actively calling the gods to meet you and meet you in that synchronicity. So it's wonderful that constellated within the group.
I mean, Jungians love this material. Obviously, Jung was very interested in not only tarot cards. He spent a lot of time with tarot cards himself, but this notion of, as you say, synchronicity as well, very, very important. So it was a great workshop. I loved it. That's one of the things I like about conferences. You can join a dream group. Even if you don't belong to dream groups, you get to experience what being in a group is like.
We should probably give a shout out to our other DRI colleagues as well, who also presented a couple of symposia. So Nigel Hamilton again, and Melinda Powell, our colleague and former director of the DRI. They were a panel called Lucid Dreams Healing the Psyche. And looking at this is part of lucid dreaming is a huge stream of what IASD is about. It's one of their main themes that runs through the conferences because people are really fascinated by it. Nigel and Melinda have both written extensively about lucid dreaming and teach lucid dreaming. And Melinda did a really lovely presentation, great visuals on her slides, but talking about lucid surrender, which is she's written a book on, and the process of using lucid dreams to inquire into and get in touch with the healing elements that are present in the psyche that are maybe coming through dreams. And the lucid surrender process is part of that. I love hearing her talk about lucid surrender because it goes against what I think is a little bit of an overweening part of what lucid dreaming can be sometimes, which is about control and making things happen and living out fantasies in a really deliberate way. And this is about going to that space, keeping the consciousness, and then inquiring and finding out what it has to say to you in a really, really deep and profound way. I really greatly admire that.
I know they've both been guests on our podcast, but sadly I didn't get to hear that particular session. Did you, Maria, at all?
I didn't, and I actually wasn't that interested in lucid dreaming before attending this conference, and now it's all I want to do. I want to learn how to lucid dream because everyone there was talking about lucid dreaming. And I heard such interesting experiences. I attended Robert Waggoner's panel on lucid dreaming, and I loved he talked about the voice in the lucid dream who answers back to you. That when how he cultivated this practice of entering the dream, and rather than flying through walls or having sex with the celebrity that you fancy, actually using that space to ask important questions, and that there's always a voice who answers back, and who's that voice. And what that brought up for me was, well, I haven't lucid dreamed. I have worked with psychedelics in a therapeutic way. And to me, that's kind of like a lucid dream because unconscious material appears, but you have some control over it, and you can interact with it. And in my psychedelic experiences, asking questions, that works really well. And I have gotten answers back from a disembodied, I don't even know who, but someone did answer back. Some might call it the self, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Higher self, some people say.
Yeah.
I mean, some people openly think it's a separate voice and call it the spirit masters. So anybody who's read Dr. Brian Weiss's book, Many Lives, Many Masters, using hypnotherapy rather than psychedelics or lucid dreaming to sort of, it ends up in the same place, for want of a better description. Who is the voice? And Maria, I know, Maria, you went to the last session as I did, which was just quite something, wasn't it? Which was a more spiritually based approach to dreaming, which was the closing keynote speech by Dr. Newton Condovetti and Dr. Lakshmi Newton. That's a husband and wife couple who I think run an institute out in India looking at dreaming. But they ran this closing note speech, who is dreaming? And I thought, wow, what a great question, isn't it? Back to consciousness, isn't it, Maria?
They took it to a real spiritual place, and I enjoyed it because my experience of the conference, I went to a lot of the philosophy or the scientific academic panels, and I was missing this more maybe esoteric or just pure consciousness, spiritual perspective. And they brought that and they owned it in such a beautiful way, unapologetically. And yeah, they asked a really important question. Who is dreaming? Are we dreaming? Is the dream dreaming us?
Yeah. Are we just observing the dreamer? Are we actually the dreamer? I mean, I know these questions sound quite wacky, but and they've got a big founding in philosophy, as we know. But it is a really interesting question, and I think in many ways it is an extension of the psychedelic lucid dreaming hypnotherapy approach to consciousness. What is beyond there? Is there something beyond that? Which would underscore the Jungian notion of there is something collective. Jung himself had a spirit master, a spirit guide, which he himself discovered, using these type of techniques.
I think these questions come up if you start to contemplate dreams and you start to ask yourself questions, like starting from what if every part of the dream was a part of me, but then that leads you to that question of okay, well, there's the me who thinks I'm me or knows I'm me in the dream, but what about the rest of it? And you realize it is a reflection of you, and yet it's not the you that you know when you're walking around in the waking life every day.
A bit like the Matrix again. Are you just the observer? Which was somewhere that the couple who did the closing notes speech got to. How much of you is the observer? Which I think is such a great question, and it has a basis, as we know, in people who know a bit more about quantum physics than I probably do. But there is the whole: does the event happen unless it's being observed? The observer observed, and again, it's interesting. A lot of their considerations around the subject had come out of their own Hindu belief structure and the Upanishads, and I find it quite fascinating that a lot of where physics has got to, particularly quantum physics, has got to, a lot of the theories and the ideas sit in the Upanishads, which are some of the most earliest of spiritual writings. And I often find that very beautiful.
Absolutely, yeah. Just on a slight tangent, but related to the theme of the experiences you have when getting messages in that lucid state. Dr. Hamilton, founder of our psychotherapy school and co-founder of DRI, in his presentation on lucid dreams and healing, took the audience through a series of dreams of a client that he worked with over time who'd created art based on his dreams. And within that process, as he was working with his dreams, he was becoming lucid. And there were these moments of observing what's happening in the dream and something deeply symbolic, but then also this voice sort of saying, this is what this means, or this is what you have to do. And when you go with that takes you into the healing. And in his case also, you see the development of this art, the complexity of it, the colors coming out, and then again kind of a refining process of the dreams becoming clearer and more balanced. And it's really fascinating to see. And I think that some of that might be online, actually, in Dr. Hamilton's work.
Mm. You talked about art. Maria, Should we have you can't talk about an IASD conference without mentioning the art. It's a fundamental part, and it is of such a high quality and a high level. Was there anything for you, Maria, that jumped out?
You know what? There was this installation that someone created of, I think, Dave, you and I looked at it together, of a mini library with mini micro books, just these tiny books that must have taken so long to create. It was so intricate, and the dreams were all written in these tiny books. So you could pull out with gloves very carefully, pull out a book and read a dream and then put it back. And it formed this really wonderful library. I love that idea because you could see, for me, it's the level of engagement with dreams that goes on after having had the dream. That's not just intellectual. If really constructing a library of your dreams, that feels really special.
Yeah, I really admired that, and I think you touch on a really important point there, Maria, which is about how you engage with the dream afterwards. And every piece of art there represented that to some degree, but also all the presentations, the workshops, the tarot reading, whether it's creating something or just talking about it and sharing it, that's where you really get the richness of what your dream life is bringing. I was really struck by that dream library as well. Although I didn't have my glasses with me, so I couldn't read the dreams because they were tiny.
They were tiny.
Yeah. There was Deirdre Barrett's art, which she has sort of computer enhanced, or she uses computers to develop some of her dream images, and they have a real ethereal, almost kind of alien quality. There was one on display there that was actually about an alien spaceship returning to its home planet. But yeah, really, really delightful images. A lot that were deeply personal. There were some paintings that came straight out of people's dreams. I talked to a couple of the artists, and you read the little write up about the dream that is there, and it's really a profound experience, and that leads someone to take the time to get the paints and the canvas and to create something that represents this experience they've had. And then by doing that also transforms and kind of grounds the experience. Trying to think of some of the more, I'm most attracted to surrealism, which is related to dreams, of course. And there were a lot of paintings that related to that. And actually there was a lovely workshop on surrealism as well, with our colleagues, Julia Lockhart and Mark Blagrove, among others, who did a presentation that was all about the influence of from Freud, that influence on the Dadaists and the surrealists, and then how that comes back into creating art. Now, there was a review of cinema, surrealist cinema, and looking at the famous Chien Andalou, which was Buñuel's surrealist piece of cinema, which is very dreamlike and very dark. But it was really fascinating to sort of see how these threads go through psychology and psychotherapy and art and influence each other over time. And I think it was present on the walls, the art that was on the walls at the conference center as well.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Yeah, I saw quite a lot of them in passing. I couldn't spend the whole of the 5 days there, but some of the work I saw, I just loved. I wish I'd had more time to properly enjoy it. Well, the conference, as always, was a great treat, and I think we've covered several of its sort of key themes. If anybody's interested, I think next year the conference is going online, and so anybody can attend and join in some of these amazing workshops and debates and lectures and things just generally. So if you love the dream world, I'm sure we'll be copying and covering this again and sending some more links before the one next year that's going to be online, so anyone can attend, which makes it very inclusive.
Yeah. We'll be promoting things on our social media with regards to the upcoming conference and other things that IASD is doing. And you can also follow IASD on Instagram and Facebook as well. There's lots of information out there. Strongly encourage you to do that and become a member of IASD as well as the DRI.
Exactly.
Only £30 a year for the DRI,
exactly.
As you know.
Well, Maria, thank you very much indeed for coming on as a guest presenter and joining us, and also for joining the DRI and coming in as an associate and working with us. Looking forward to it.
Thank you for having me.
Sweet dreams.
And from me, keep dreaming and keep sharing your dreams.
So, thank you for joining us for this week's episode. Don't forget to like us and leave comments on your favourite podcast platform. As I'm sure you know, that's the way we build an audience for the Dreamboat podcast and also to spread news about dreaming. And as we said, there are many ways you can share your dreams at the DRI, the Dream Research Institute.
Yes, we have courses, events, and workshops, and we want to hear from you. So check out the show notes for links, or find us on Instagram and on our Facebook page and on our website at driccpe.org.uk. And if you want to explore your dreams further, or you would like to support us, you can join the DRI as a member for just £30 a year. As a member, you will get discounts for all of our events and short courses. You'll get our newsletter with latest dream research news, and we'll also be adding other special member benefits during the year. Of course, members' dreams will always be given preference for reading on the podcast Dream of the Week slot. So go to the link on the show notes and become a DRI member today. Keep dreaming and keep sharing your dreams.